Hi guys, and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Eunice Bloom, and this particular video is my pregnancy story. I will be talking about having COVID during pregnancy, which was quite an experience, bleeding during pregnancy, having fibroids, having 5 fibroids actually, small gestation, infections, and yeah, my induction. So stay tuned, don't go nowhere, because it's a very interesting topic. So this first video is actually about my pregnancy story. 2020 has been such an amazing year. It's, lots of things have happened in the middle of pandemic. I got pregnant and I had a baby. It's just been such an amazing journey. Lots of things happened during my pregnancy, which I want to share, especially with first time mothers or people who have already been through it, so they know that they're not on their own. We can all learn from each other and through our shared experiences, really. So from the start of my pregnancy was around March. It's when I found out I was pregnant, and during that period I actually had COVID for a month, and it was such a difficult experience for me. I couldn't tell the difference between pregnancy or COVID, because it literally had the same or similar symptoms, really. So I had temperature all the time. I had loss of taste, loss of smell as well. I couldn't smell anything, and things just didn't taste the same anymore. My favorite food I couldn't taste. It was pointless eating. I could barely keep food in my mouth. It was really a struggle for me, to be honest. I remember during March I was actually meant to go to Dubai with my whole family, and that's when COVID really kicked in. Like literally everyone in my family had COVID. Myself, my mum, one of my sisters had COVID. At that time, in the first week, I would say, we didn't actually know it was COVID. We were just going through all these issues that we thought was a bug and we're all sick and blah, blah, blah. When I got a little bit better, I went and spent the weekend with my mum, and I went and spent the weekend at my sister's, and she basically got COVID as well, and so did her husband. So it was pretty much 5 people in the family who had COVID, and it was such a horrible experience. Really, I won't wish it on my enemy. So yeah, so after that, after 2, 3, in the 3rd month, I started to feel severe pains in my stomach. These pains came from nowhere. I thought, oh my gosh, is this what pregnancy is meant to feel like? I would speak to my sister about it. I would speak to some friends about it, just to find out, is this normal? Because I wasn't sure. People go through their pregnancy and they don't really talk much about it. And I'd Google it, and people talk about, or even search on YouTube, really, and people would share their experiences. And some people were experiencing pain or some sort, but I don't know if it was as severe as mine. And there's no way that a normal person was feeling the sort of pains I was feeling. It was just horrible, and I didn't want to sound like a drama queen. Like, I would tell my partner, I would tell my mum, look, my stomach is killing me. I don't know if this is normal or not, but I can't bear it, really. We did nothing about it. I was just handling the pain, really. I thought, yeah, it's probably normal and I'm just being dramatic. And I remember sometime after my birthday, I had kenke. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's some sort of spicy Ghanaian dish. I had that, and my belly started to really hurt, like uncontrollable. I couldn't handle that pain any longer. So I remember sitting on the floor, bending over, holding my stomach in excruciating pain. I just couldn't handle it. Then I got up and went to the toilet, because it felt like something was, coming down my my uterus. It felt really strange. So I went and sat on the toilet, and I could see I was bleeding. I thought, oh my God, what's going on here? I quickly ran up to the shower to just, wash myself, and the blood that I had seen and more started to come out. This time there were huge blood clots coming through. I called my mom. I shouted down for my mom. I shouted down my partner. They both rushed in and saw what was going on. And yeah, I quickly came out, got myself ready, got out the shower, got myself ready, and then we drove to the hospital. We went A&E actually, because it was around 1 a.m. in the morning. We drove to the A&E, my mum and my partner. Initially they wouldn't let them in, and I got to the A&E. They wouldn't let them in really. They tried to tell us that only one person, the person who's sick, can come in A&E. Obviously, if I could, the reason why I'm coming in is I can't handle the pain and I needed some sort of support next to me. So I had to basically explain myself to the hospital security at the door that I can't keep myself up. I need someone to physically hold me because I was actually in that much pain. So my partner held me. We went in now, saw the receptionist, and I sat down and waited to be seen. First person I saw was a nurse. We talked through all my symptoms, what had happened, my bleeding, what happened earlier before I came into the hospital, and my bleeding and so on and so forth. And, he was very negative, to be honest. I find my experience with doctors and nurses, they always tend to think about the worst case scenario. They're not like me, I would say. I'm very optimistic. I always like to look at the positive side of things. And, I remember that day, the nurse was like, your health is the most important thing for us. It really sounds like you had a miscarriage, but don't worry. Your health, you're alive, and that's what all we care about. All we care about right now is saving you. He's basically telling us it's a miscarriage, and don't worry, I'm alive, and they're only looking to save me and not my baby. NHS is such a drag. A&E is a drag, to be honest with you. Antenatal wasn't open. I think they closed around 9 p.m. so no one in antenatal could see us. So we had to wait to see an actual doctor, a gynecologist, I would say. And it was a very long wait. And other things take priority, There's people having cesareans and so on and so forth. And they take priority over what's going on in A&E. So I waited for a while. We saw the gynecologist eventually after I think about an hour and a half wait. Bear in mind, I was I was waiting with my partner because he was the only one they would let in at that time, and my mum had to wait in the car. Hold on, my baby is crying. I need to check on my little one and make sure she's doing all right. They eventually let me in. This time, they won't let my partner in. They would only let me in. So I had to literally walk like a snail all the way down the corridor to go and see this doctor. Went into this small room. They had me in there again, waiting for ages. I don't know what the hell they were doing. But this doctor came into the room. She probably looked about 25, to be honest. I would say a student doctor or so. But, she did all right. She did her job. She came in to see me. We spoke about my symptoms, and she checked my cervix. And I don't know if any of you have had a smear test before. If you are 21 and over, I'm pretty sure you have in the UK. She checked my cervix with a spectrum. This white plastic thing that looks like that. If I have a picture, I'll show it for you to see. She stuck it inside of me so deep. It basically opens your uterus to see, what's in there, or will I say your vagina walls, for you to see the insides of your uterus, or vagina, should I say. And she used that to look inside of me, and she saw my cervix and basically said it's still closed, it's not opened, so she doesn't think it's a miscarriage. But God is good, God is great, because To see what I saw in the bath and to be told that my service is still closed, that was the best news ever. So at that point, I was given this news around 3 a.m. Bear in mind, we went to the hospital around 1 a.m. and basically left there about 3:30 a.m. The next day, when we drove to the hospital, I went for my first scan. Basically, no one else is allowed to come in with me. And that's the really disappointing thing during this COVID period. You basically experience everything on your own. You have no support when you're seeing the nurses and the doctors and all the bad news that they tell you. You're on your own. Your partner's not there. Your family's not there. You can't have friends there. You can't have visitors. Literally, you're doing it. Even my scans, I did it on my own. But we'll get to that. So this first scan was basically just to check what has happened in my stomach, if, baby was still there, or is it a miscarriage or whatnot. Got there now, went to the hospital, laid on my back. And, they ask you such intrusive questions as well. They ask you questions like, have you had a miscarriage before? Have you been pregnant? Have you had an abortion before? I answered them, and she had me, gynecologist, for my first scan, had me lay on my back, and she basically put the thing on my stomach. I can't remember what it's called, but she put it on my stomach, and we could hear, the first thing I could hear was a heartbeat on the machine. You could actually hear it coming through. I thought, wow, this baby held on, baby's still in my stomach. And she looked at the baby and said, baby's fine. Very excited. She was moving up and down, so excited, jumping all over the place. I think that was like her sign of telling me, don't worry, mummy, I'm doing well, I'm fine, can't wait to come into the world. Yeah, and I was happy. I was very happy that, she was doing well in that. She scanned the baby and told me how my baby was doing great. Heart was beating well. My cervix is closed. Told me my placenta is doing great. But what she did find was fibroids, which I never knew I had. I never knew I had fibroids in my life. In the past, I have felt a little lump down my stomach, I would say, my lower stomach, which is my lower pelvic area, and I haven't really thought anything about it. I basically just assumed that it was part of my inside, probably my intestines or something, which is quite funny because I have heavy periods, but I've never really thought anything of it. Yes, so not only did I have one fibroid, I had 5 fibroids, one really huge one, which caused me so much pain during my pregnancy. Baby used to push it out of her way, so she can grow bigger or move around and so on. And the pain was so unbearable. Having fibroids during my pregnancy was a game changer, really, to know that I had all these things in my stomach, yet God enabled me to get pregnant, have this baby, or carry this baby through my pregnancy with so much pain, and be blessed in the end with such a beautiful daughter. So moving on to my second trimester, I would say the pain lasted up until the first month of my second trimester, which is probably the fourth month. I would say the 5th and 6th month got a lot better for me. The pain reduced a bit. It kind of stopped my... Oh, by the way, I had some bleeding throughout. Some on and off bleeding, and that was all just from the fibroid, really. It was nothing to do with my pregnancy, and I was letting nature take his course, and come out of me slowly as it was during my pregnancy. So one thing I wanted to say as well, during my pregnancy I couldn't really sleep properly. That was so hard for me. I got a pregnancy pillow which was so shit. I would say invest in a very good pregnancy pillow, because mine was rubbish. In the initial stage it was really good, but eventually it sort of just deflated and became so flat. Like the stuff the pillow was, stuffed with was some cheap rubbish. But invest in a good pillow. My 5th and 6th month was the best period of my pregnancy. Reason for that was because the pain had reduced. I was able to eat more. I had crazy cravings which came out of nowhere. I was craving for things such as seafood boil, dirty burger, pasta Italian, which is one of my favorite things. I was craving Italian. I was craving Vapianos. There's lots of things I was craving. Obviously I work in the city of London and I'm a big eater. Like I love to eat out. I'm more of an eat out person, and I missed all the things that I used to have during my lunch hours. Like Thai noodle soup was one of my absolute favorite lunch what I would eat for lunch really. And I was so craving that during my pregnancy. Bear in mind, I worked from home throughout my whole pregnancy, so I actually didn't have an outside experience. I wasn't getting on the train and going to work like normal pregnant people would do in a normal year. Whereas 2020, we all know 2020 wasn't a normal year. It was a year of, pandemic. COVID took over everyone's lives and just turned it upside down. So the dynamics of everyone's lives changed really. And I worked from home. My partner and I worked from home together. The things I used to do and enjoy, I wasn't able to do those, which is fine. Because working from home really was a good experience that I could juggle my schedule around it, and it was all up to me how I worked, to be honest. And I know that if it was a normal year, I wouldn't have had that privilege. I would have had to wake up every day, hop on the train, go to work, and imagine working in the office at your desk and feeling those sort of pains that I felt. So the best way, or the best thing for me, was to do that at home. Because whenever, you have your start and stop periods when it comes to pain, like there's times it's really bad and sometimes it's okay. When it's really, really bad, I stop work completely and I just sit on my sofa, which you can see behind me, and just take a rest and probably watch some TV also. Or just use my my birthing ball and bounce on it. I couldn't do that if I was working, or, if I was going into the office. I wouldn't have that opportunity at all whatsoever. So that was the benefits of going through my pregnancy during a pandemic at home. So for my second trimester, which was my 5th and 6th month, that being my best pregnancy months, was because I could do stuff again. I could get back to my normal self. I could cook. I could clean. My happy old me. I wasn't there always laying down in pain and being a sado. I was actually just getting on with things. And I believe that was when the lockdown was lifted as well. So that really helped with my mood and helped me get on with things really. At this point, I would say I was sort of clueless in terms of antenatal, all the classes that you would normally get through NHS. Lucky for me, my partner has this benefit called Clio through his work, and I was able to use that, and that was really, really good for me. I had a private dweller, who is someone, if you don't know what that is a person, or it's pretty much a person who helps you through your pregnancy with advice, prepares you for labour, and postpartum as well, helps you get through it. I have a dedicated person who helped me throughout my pregnancy. I think we signed up for it around the 5th or 6th month. And that was great because I was able to talk her through everything I'm going through. She's been so supportive. She's like your personal midwife, should I say. She helped me with my birth plan. She helped me make some really important decisions throughout my pregnancy, especially with the doctors and my induction as well. And even after birth, she really helped me there. I had breastfeeding classes. Like, it was just absolutely amazing. I would say if you don't have that benefit, definitely try and get it through Clio. I know for NHS was a horrible experience for me in the sense that there was no dedicated doctors, no dedicated midwife. The trust that I had my baby, I know every trust is different and how they operate, how they do things, but the trust I had my baby, you had no dedicated midwife and no dedicated doctors, and that's really difficult, especially as a first-time mother. They had no classes whatsoever. My first scan, I did it all by myself. My partner wasn't with me. Literally all my scans that I've had several scans, and my partner hasn't been to any of them. I've had to do them all by myself. All the bad news that they fed me, I've had to deal with it emotionally right there and then, all by myself. And that to me was the worst part of my pregnancy. You know, sometimes I felt like I was going through things on my own, for the fact that you didn't have that support that you needed, that emotional support that you needed right there and then. Literally everything they would tell me when I get out the hospital, I would go and feed it or tell my partner what's happened. And you know, it's quite sad really not having that support right there and then when you needed it. But I think they've sort of changed things now. I think they can partners can go in for the first scan, and that's about it really, whereas I didn't get that opportunity. I think in my third trimester I saw that happening, and I did ask the hospital to at least let my partner come in, since he didn't get the opportunity to go for the first one. They said no. I was actually quite pissed off about it, but hey, what can I do? But I would say one of the really good things was that when they found out that I had fibroids, all my appointments were with doctors, and probably saw the midwife once in a while. I had very frequent scans, to be honest with you, because they're trying to monitor how baby was doing in there, make sure that my fibroids was not in my cervix area, or should I say my birth canal, not blocking anything down there. Also made sure it wasn't growing, because that's can happen when you're pregnant. If your fibroid is growing, that's going to have a massive effect on your baby. But my fibroids throughout stayed the same. I didn't really gain much weight, to be honest. I would say my nose got bigger, my cheeks got bigger, and my thighs got bigger. That's about it really. My arms pretty much stayed the same. My stomach was really small, as you can see from my pictures, which I will insert over here. My stomach was really small, and that was one of the reasons why I had to have an induction. And to be honest, I think that was mainly because of my frame, because I have a very small waist anyway. So the 5th and 6th month was such a good month. We thought we could do anything that we wanted. My partner and I did a staycation in Cotswold. That was such an amazing experience. I got engaged there as well. That was absolutely amazing. We went a step further, even traveling to Dubai in the first month of my 3rd trimester, which was when I was 7 months. We went to Dubai, and you know, that was an amazing experience, just to get out of the country. And you know, with the middle of COVID, what's been happening around us, just having the opportunity to leave the country and go to Dubai. We had a good experience. It was mainly just to relax really, and that was really good as well for me and him. But we stayed at the Five Palm Hotel. When we came back, I actually had a urine infection from that swimming pool. I would say to anyone who's pregnant, do not use a swimming pool. I repeat, do not use a swimming pool during your pregnancy because you're prone to infections. And I made the mistake of doing that. That's obviously because when we went Cotswold, I used the swimming pool there and that was fine. Nothing had happened. I had the swimming pool to myself really. But in Five Palm in Dubai, you're sharing a swimming pool with lots of people. And we all know, I think I would say that swimming pool probably didn't have enough chlorine inside of it, and that's what happened. Didn't have enough chlorine to get rid of all the bacteria and stuff. And unfortunate for me, I got a urine infection when we got back and I had to treat that with antibiotics. Again, that caused me so much pain. Oh my goodness. The pain from a urine infection when you're pregnant. Oh man. So I had that, and then the pains that I had felt in my first and second trimester started to come back again, which is the pain for my fibroid. It used to move about quite a lot. When baby moves, fibroid moves, to the fact that sometimes you can see it poking out the skin. So I'm going to put a picture up so you can see what that looks like. Yeah. So I had pains, fibroid pains, urine infection pain. That was just something else. I treated the urine infection with antibiotics and that went away eventually. So another experience I had was that baby used to sit on my bladder and it was so difficult for me to go and pee sometimes. I would go and sit on the toilet and I couldn't get pee out. I want to pee, but I would sit down and I couldn't. So the only way I could pee was to clench my ass so tight, right? And then eventually I can get some pee out of me. But yeah, that was my story over there. In my third trimester, that was an interesting experience because it was just bad news back to back to back. When I was 28 weeks, I was basically told that my baby was small gestation. If you don't know what that is, it's basically when your baby is growing on the small side. Based on research, so it's normally based on your weight, height, and your ethnicity. So 90% of your weight, size, and ethnicity. They literally draw a graph of where that growth should be on, and it's all based on research that they've done. And my baby was growing on the 5th center, basically. 5% of people who had the same weight and height with me, baby was that size, and 5% is very, very small. So they expected me to be somewhere above the 5%. So basically my baby was considered small really. And from that stage, they start to talk about things like C-section and early induction. And yeah, I wasn't happy about that, to be honest, because I had my birth plan and I knew exactly how I wanted my birth. I knew exactly how I wanted my birth to go, and induction was not a part of it. C-section was not a part of it. And like I said before, doctors and nurses always, they always tell you the worst case scenario, and they don't advise you on how to mitigate that. No, that's not their job. Their job is not to make you feel better. Their job is to basically make their lives easier, which is fine. So that happened at 28 weeks. So every scan, so you basically do scans every 2 weeks, and every 2 weeks when I did a scan, I was basically told baby's always small, baby's on the small, and they were basically trying to get my baby induced before full term, and I wasn't having it. And at that point I had so much faith in me. I just knew that, do you know what, yes, they did this research, they concluded my baby was on the small side based on this research. However, what is the body frames of these people. If my body frame prior to pregnancy, I'm going to put a picture in there so you have an idea of what I look like prior to pregnancy. I have a very, very tiny waist and my stomach is flat as hell, right? So I knew that for me to have my baby to be on a small side, it's based on my frame, it's based on my stomach, literally my upper body. So I wasn't worried per se, and I did enough research to understand that if your blood flow to the baby is fine, your placenta, the water is fine, the baby's heart is fine, and that means the baby's feeding well, they're getting all the nutrients they should be. However, they're just not growing, every time you have a scan, they grow, as in they go up in size, but not on the same level as the majority of people within your weight and height, which is silly, really. I always knew that my baby was fine. I knew that my baby was healthy, irrespective of what research had to say. And that's mainly, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a health professional, but I was confident, and that was mainly because I had faith in God. I prayed about it, and I did enough research to know my baby was doing great. So I wasn't prepared for induction, and I wasn't prepared for no C-section. So I basically explained that to the doctors from my side of, my point of view, told them I wasn't prepared to go through that. And I wanted my baby to be full-term. All my partner could see was the pictures that I had during my scans, and I would show him what that looked like, or I would do a little video of the screen to show him. He wasn't in any of my scans, which was quite sad, really. So we basically decided to book a private scan, and yeah, that was a good experience for him. That was his first time of seeing the baby. We booked a private scan. We went in there and he saw the baby. I think by that time I was probably about 32 weeks. That's when he saw a live scan, and yeah, he was amazed, really. So part of our private scan that we had the 3D pictures, and I would say don't waste your time on 3D pictures. We probably should have chosen a better package, to be honest with you. 3D, pointless. The baby looked nothing like the 3D pictures. If you'd seen it, I think he probably had daddy's nose, had my lips. We couldn't quite work out who she looked like. And now that she's with us and we compare the 3D, which I'll put up. Should I put it up? Yeah, I'll put it up. 3D and what she looks like now. You can compare for yourself. Look nothing alike whatsoever. So I would say don't waste your time doing 3D pictures. They're not worth it at all. Because your baby never looked like those pictures, to be honest with you. I don't know how they do it, but they don't look like those pictures, I'll be honest. After my 36-week scan, when they told me that the best option for me was an induction because my baby was growing on the small side, and I basically refused, and we agreed to a weekly scan. So the first scan, that was a Tuesday that I saw the consultant. So the first scan was during that same week, was either a Thursday or Friday. I remember the doctor telling me to either come in on a Thursday or Friday. I said, okay, fine, I'll go in on a Friday. I was meant to have a hair appointment on the Thursday, and my hairdresser cancelled on me, and I thought, you know what, let me just go to the triage today, and then, I would do my hair the next day instead. So as soon as I went there and they monitored baby, lots of things were going wrong. She was very distressed, having these machines always on her head. It's very uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for baby, it's uncomfortable for me, and it can actually cause stress to your baby because they're not happy having this thing on them, so they're constantly moving around, kicking it away. For those of you who don't know what that looks like, I'm going to insert a picture so you see what it looks like to have that belt on your stomach. Bear in mind, it's very tight as well. So that's what happened. I went in, baby wasn't very happy about the monitoring. Her heart rate keeps dropping. I remember that day, it was so annoying. I was in the hospital pretty much the whole day. And in the end, they told me that I had to spend the night because they wanted to monitor the heart rate. And that's what happened. They kept me in. Bear in mind, I hadn't eaten that whole day. I was so hungry. I went in there at 3 p.m. being monitored, and from 3 p.m. up until, let's say, 7, that's when I had the final say that I was actually going to spend the night in the hospital. No, not 7 actually. 8, 9, right about that time. And then they prepared a bed for me in maternity. Lucky for me, my partner came to see me. He brought me some stuff for the night. And I remember spending the night there. I had to be monitored all throughout. It was so annoying because I was basically in the same ward as people who had just delivered. I had a lady on the opposite side of me who had delivered after having a C-section, and I had I had the experience of seeing firsthand what people go through after delivery, and that was quite scary. The consultants, I remember 5 consultants came over to see me, and they told me, you know, what they're doing with me. They're going to continue monitoring me, see how baby heart is doing. But again, it was actually quite scary seeing 5 consultants in front of you. The next day, they want to see if I might have to spend 2 nights or the whole weekend or until I get induced. And I thought, what the hell is this? Like, I need my partner. This is not what I signed up for. They were so confused what to do with me. So bear in mind, the consultants that I had seen the night before was a different consultant the next day. And after they had checked baby's heart rate started to behave again, and she was doing fine. You know, whilst I was there, I just kept praying and praying and praying. I said, oh God, like, let everything be all right with my baby. Just make sure that, you know, just behaves and ticks all the boxes for these machines so that they can let me go home. And when the doctor came in the next day, she basically said, oh, we want to keep you for an extra day. I thought, why would you keep me for an extra day? Check the baby's heart rate and it's doing fine. But I basically was ready to say, nope, I'm going home. And then a couple hours later, I basically told them, I don't want to stay. I would like to go home. And, you know, we spoke about the induction. I said I wasn't prepared to come to the hospital. I'm now here. I don't have much with me. And, you know, I would like to go home and properly prepare and come back to the hospital to be, you know, monitored and so on. And they basically told me, yes, baby's heart rate is doing fine, but because it went down, there's no telling that it won't happen again. So the best thing for me to do is to go for an induction. At this point, I spoke about it with my partner again, and we agreed to it because I didn't want to make a decision that I would regret, saying no to an induction that will have an impact on my life or the baby's life. And after, you know, what I had been through the night before, being bundled to these machines and being checked every minute, that was so frustrating, and I just wanted to get through the experience as quick as possible. So I went home on that Friday. I rang my hairdresser. I made sure I had my hair done. I've still got my braids in, as you could see. I got my hair done, and that was a Friday. On a Saturday, I went and bought last bits and pieces. I had my hospital bag packed already, to be fair. So I went and got, you know, bits and pieces and added it on to that I needed, that I hadn't had the chance to purchase. So I purchased those, and basically I was prepared. I thought, you know what, I prayed about this induction. I did a lot of research. I looked into YouTube. I looked into NHS website, and I was confident. Oh, and I looked also into Mumsnet. That's such a good website, actually. Lots of experienced mums that you can learn from. So yeah, I think I was more confident in what I was about to experience. I knew a lot more. Induction was something I hadn't researched about initially. You know, I had this birth plan in my head that I wanted to stick to, but bear in mind, you can have a birth plan, but things won't go according to it. You know, it happens. There is what we want, and God decides really in the end. And that's what happened with me. God had the final say, and the final say was an induction. So watch out for part 2, where I will be talking about my labor and delivery story and what happens in induction. It's quite an interesting experience, and I want you all to, be prepared. Just some words of encouragement. I think that make sure you're well prepared in whatever method of labor or delivery that you will have in the end. And do your research, know more. I want to share my experience with you so you know exactly what I went through and what to expect when you're doing the same or going through the same. I think for me, what really helped me understand a lot more about the induction was watching YouTube videos. People's personal experience is very, very important, because so maybe they opted for epidural and it didn't quite work, and this was why it didn't work. So when you get epidural, you know the signs and things to look out for. So yeah, I will be doing another video on my labor and delivery story, so look out for that. Thank you guys for watching, for being patient with me and watching my video all throughout. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.